everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at the present continuous tense and the past continuous tense. These tenses are also referred to as the present progressive and the past progressive, same thing. If you are serious about perfecting your English, then you will prioritize reviewing the various tenses in the language to make sure your speech is as accurate as possible, and your writing too. All right, so first we're going to talk about the uses of the present continuous tense. Then we're going to look at the formation, some examples, and after that we're going to move on to the past continuous tense. Let's begin. The present continuous is used to describe an action that is happening at the moment of speaking or right now. We also use it to express temporary situations. It's used when talking about plans that will occur in the near future to some extent. And it is also used to talk about actions that are regularly repeated, and usually these actions have a negative connotation. What does all this mean? The examples will certainly clarify. First, let's talk about the formation of the present continuous tense. We use the present tense of the verb to be, which is the most common verb in the English language. And in addition to the present tense of the verb to be, we use a verb that ends with ing to form the present continuous tense. So the present tense of to be is I am or I'm as a contraction. You are or your. He is, he's. She is, she's. It is, it's. We are, we're. You are, you plural, are, your. And they are, their. All right. So what is the difference between I am and I'm? Most people will use I'm conversationally. You will hear I'm much more often than you will I am. In fact, I am is mostly used for emphasis or for people who speak very formally. And if you are in college and you're writing research papers, then you are not permitted to say I'm or your or use any contractions for that matter. Instead of saying don't, you will have to write do not. Instead of isn't, you will have to write is not. So that is the present tense of the verb to be. And then we add ing to a verb, combine them, and we have the present continuous tense. So I am listening to you. You are studying. He is making a cake. We are speaking English. You are walking to the park. They are playing tennis. And again, it describes an action that is occurring at this moment. So if someone is outside and they're playing tennis, you cannot say she plays tennis right now. That would be grammatically incorrect. You would need to use the present continuous tense because she is performing the action at this moment. So she is playing tennis right now. And I know that this causes trouble, especially for those who are from French-speaking countries or my Haitian friends, because in French, you do not have the present continuous tense. But once you understand that it is primarily used to talk about actions that are occurring at this moment, then that will be very helpful on your journey. All right, to form the negative, we're going to put not after I am or I'm, you are or your, etc. So the affirmative would be I am studying at the moment. So I cannot participate in what you want me to participate in because I am studying. So the negative of I am studying would be I am not studying at the moment. So the not goes after the verb to be or before the verb that ends with ing. Another example is she is completing her homework now. The negative would be she is not completing her homework right now. Okay. And then the interrogative, to form questions, we're going to trade places. So instead of saying I am, we say am I. Instead of you are, we say are you. Instead of he is, we say is he, etc., etc. So we use am, is, or are plus the subject plus the verb with ing. So here are 3 examples. Am I speaking to you? Yes, I'm speaking to you. Are you planning on going to the party? No, I'm not planning on going to the party. Is she having a boy or girl? She is having a girl. All right. So am, is, or are plus the subject plus the verb with ing. And as per usual, at the end of a question, we need the question mark. All right. Now, there are some irregularities that we have to consider, and these are they. Verbs that end with an E, like organize, socialize, or in the example on the screen, make, we have to first remove the E and then we add ing. So make becomes making. I am making something for my brother. And then if a verb has the CVC structure, and to identify it, we look at the last 3 letters in the verb. So the verb swim, the last 3 letters are W-I-M. Swim has the CVC structure because W is a consonant, I is a vowel, and M is a consonant. So swim does have the CVC structure. And therefore, from swim, in the present continuous, we would have I am swimming. And the M would be doubled because if a verb has the CVC structure, we double the final letter. And remember that to identify whether the verb has a CVC structure, we look at the last 3 letters in the verb. Other verbs that would fall in this category would be verbs like stop. The last 3 letters are T-O-P. T is a consonant, O is a vowel, and P is a consonant. So we double the final letter, which is the P, and we end up with stopping. All right. So verbs that have the CVC structure, we double the final letter for those verbs. And then for verbs that end with IE, we replace the IE with a Y, and then we add ING. So in the case of lie, which is when you're not telling the truth, you get lying, lying, L-Y-I-N-G. Okay. Now, I need to also point out that there are times when a verb will have the CVC structure and the last letter is not doubled. Those are exceptions to the rule. For example, travel, it ends with VEL, CVC structure. Some people spell travel with 2 L's, others spell it with 1 L, and both are considered acceptable. All right. So now we're going to look at some pictures and videos of my cat, and we're going to establish what he is doing. So in picture number 1, my cat, his name is Toby, is sleeping. So Toby is sleeping on the bed. Now we see a video of him and he is playing with a bird that he killed. Very unfortunate. So Toby is playing with a bird that he killed. And then in this final picture, we see him begging for food. So typical of Toby. Toby is begging for food. All right, so those are 3 examples of the present continuous in use. Let's now talk about the past progressive or continuous. And the past progressive is used when talking about an action that was ongoing in the past. We typically use the conjunctions while and when we're talking about the past progressive. Formation. For the past progressive, instead of using the present tense of to be like we do for the present continuous, we're going to use the past tense of to be, which has two forms, was and were. So let's look at to be in the past tense. We say I was, you were, he, she, or it was, we were, you in the plural were, and they were. Now, many people when speaking English, even native speakers of English, they confuse these two. They confuse was and were. So don't be surprised if you hear people saying, for example, oh, my mom and dad was married in 1964. But it's incorrect because my mom and dad can be replaced by the subject pronoun they. So we would need to say my mom and dad were married in 1964. All right. So again, the past progressive is formed using the past tense of to be, which is I was, you were, he, she, or it was, we were, you in the plural were, and they were, plus the verb with ing. So here are some examples. I was listening to the radio when my cell phone rang. You were studying in the library when I saw you. He or she or it was making. We were speaking. You were walking and they were playing. So this is the past continuous formed using the past tense of the verb to be plus the verb ending in ing. Right? The negative of the past continuous similarly is formed by including not after the verb to be. So you could say, unfortunately, I was not listening, or you could use the contraction and say, unfortunately, I wasn't listening. The contraction for was not is wasn't, and the contraction for were not is weren't. So they were not speaking to each other. They weren't speaking to each other. Right? And then to form questions, just like we did in the present continuous, we're first going to begin with the verb to be, but it needs to be in the past tense. So was or were plus the subject plus the verb ending with ing. For example, were you listening to the story? Were plus subject plus verb with ing. Was she planning on attending the event? Was plus subject plus verb with ing. All right. And here we have some final examples. These are in the present progressive. Number 1 says, my sisters are planning a surprise party. If we were to change this to the past continuous, then we would say my sisters were planning a surprise party, because my sisters can be substituted with the subject pronoun they. Number 2 says the teachers are organizing an event for the students. Organize in its base form ends with an E, so we have to first subtract the E, then add ing. So this in the past progressive would be the teachers were organizing an event for the students. And finally, I am listening to the radio. In the past progressive, this becomes I was listening to the radio. I hope this was very helpful for you. If you enjoyed this lesson or you learned something from it, please consider becoming a part of my channel. Please do like this video, share it, and leave me a comment, as that's very helpful. And I will see you next time.